Welcome to the Naperville Moms Network, a mom-focused talk show focusing on all things mom-related. My co-hosts Erica, Sarita, and Patty are happy to have you with us today. Last month we discussed dating for us. This month we are tackling dating in our kids. Erica, I hope your little ones aren't already started dating. My boys are 15 and 16, and we have already entered the dating waters. I know for myself, one of the things that I wanted to really help guide my kids in is being respectful, having open communication when they start dating. It's so challenging when you're young, right? It's like, does she like me? Do I like her, right? You start, getting connected on social media, and there's so many more things that go into the dating world. When we were growing up, you saw this person for school, and then you didn't. It all shut down at 3 p.m. when you went home. And God bless my parents. I know I dated a few fellas that they certainly weren't super fond of, and I don't remember them ever really saying, "Oh, I'm not a fan of them." It kind of just worked its way out. But one of the things I do also share with the kids is make sure you're dating someone that kind of does life the same way as you do, right? If you're a happy-go-lucky person, you want to be with someone that lifts you up and there's so many styles of being a human being that sometimes you could be a great person and you can be a great person, but they don't necessarily connect, all that well.
And that's one of the things that I have noticed with, having older kids. We've been dating for a while, and now in college and out of college, now we're serious dating. Because now you start looking at, is this the person I'm going to spend the rest of my, could I spend the rest of my life with? So as a parent, you start looking at dating a little bit different, and you start looking at, is this person bringing out the best in my child?
That's a great point.
And that is, instead of saying, and there have been, and I'm not going to name either of my children that have dating and any of the people that have been through the home, but I will say that there have been people that have just been better fits than others. And instead of saying, I don't like this person, don't go out with this person, because that is going to
blow up in your face.
That's going to blow up in your face. And plus, you don't want to bash the other person. It's not that I ever think that the other person's not a good person. It's just not, like you said, it's just not a fit. So I will often say, when they ask, what do you think? I will, I have said, I just don't think that you are the best version of you when you're with this person. But that's up to you to make that decision too. I mean, they're adults at this point, and stepping back and letting them do that, even when you're like, oh, is this who I'm going to spend all my holidays with? But at the same time, then they bring around somebody that you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And I love seeing my kids be so happy with somebody else, that this person, I don't want to be all Jerry Maguire, but this person completes them. This is the moment. And so it's as a parent, you walk that. It's kind of like a little tightrope of what do you say and what do you not say to keep them healthy in their dating relationships.
And even you, I know we joked, Erica, you're not going to have anything to say. You have a 7-year-old. But however, my 7-year-old
is going on 13.
Is going on 13. No, she said she came home within the first month of kindergarten, told me who her boyfriend was, and same thing with first grade. And I think, I don't have the experience, but the questions I asked her were, what do you like about this person?
That's good.
And maybe if that starts even that young, because her response was kind, smart. Both of the two boys that she's liked have been on the quieter side. Qualities that I'm thinking, okay, smart and kind, and and then I think about them. Right, let's follow this trend.
This is a good path. Let's stay on it.
Let's stay on this path forever. So it's asking the right questions. It's almost like you speak when spoken to by your teenager, or a child. Neither of my parents ever said a word about anyone I brought home, other than, treating them with the utmost respect and welcoming whoever it was into their home. But ultimately, it's about finding that match. That person that you complete one another. That's they had it right.
They really
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
I think the harder part with dating as a teen is, like Kathy, you were saying, there's so much pressure that kids are already going through to try to fit in socially. And then the whole stigmatism, okay, you're either dating or you're not dating, how your friend circles are impacted when your friends are dating and you're not. I think you got to take all that into consideration, and I think you guys make a good point. When your child's dating, their life shouldn't turn upside down. They need to be able to still you know, have that person be part of their life, and so trying to fit into that person's life is the key. And I think they're not going to make the right decisions the first time, and the whole process of it through dating different kind of people, they figure out what works for them and who's a good fit for them. Is the key. You know, fortunately, you know, we haven't really gotten into serious dating. And for me, growing up, I grew up in a different culture where it wasn't really encouraged. So for me, it actually took the pressure off because I felt like, okay, I don't have to worry about dating, and I could just be friends. And for me, high school was very different. I was very driven, active in a lot of things. I had a lot of friends who were guys, but it was less pressure for them and for me just to be friends. So the only advice I have for my daughter who's in high school is I'm not against her dating, but as you guys were saying, you know, find someone who does life like you do and has the same values. You know, is important. And also remembering that, you know, they themselves are evolving as a person. So to keep that in mind, don't get into a serious relationship right away, or just realize that you're still trying to figure out who you are, what your dreams are, and you don't want to compromise too much too young.
For sure, that's a great point. I also try to tell my oldest son, who's in a serious relationship, and I mean, fast forward, if this was my daughter, I'd love it, but they're 16, right? But I also try to remind them, like, you have all these other friends that you've spent so much time with. Like, don't just drop off the face of the planet. Because you can't put that much pressure on one person, or, you know, kind of desert your friends. And you see a lot of kids, and a lot of adults do that too, right? And so you want to make sure that you're keeping that balance of not all of a sudden just getting sucked into this relationship, because that's kind of what they want to do at that age. You know, is, oh, I always want to be with them. I want to see them every day. I want to see them every night, and being respectful to your other amazing friends. And if something ends up happening, then you don't have to crawl back and be like, hi, can we be friends again?
Because then your friends are like, really? Now you get right the second. But I think as parents, we need to keep that in mind too, that they're only 16 and that this isn't necessarily the person they're going to marry. And it could be. I mean, I have friends from high school who dated in high school and they're still married, and that's awesome. But I think that, you know, sometimes they're, you know, as parents, we take these people in like they are already a part of our family. And like, well, let's invite her to all of our, you know, family events, and she's in our Christmas photo, and it's like, okay, let's keep this for what it is. But I think the biggest thing I notice is if you see as parents, if your child in high school specifically starts not being themselves and not participating in the same things that they were participating in, and only doing things with this one person, that is a time when you need to have a discussion. Not saying you have to break up with this person, but just those things you just pointed out. These friendships and these relationships and activities you've been doing all these years have made you happy. They've made you who you are. Don't give those up just for one person. Like you need to find somebody that's going to let you be you.
You know, it's hard enough as an adult to know who you are, but I think you can learn through different relationships, like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be with? You know, how do I feel when I'm with someone that does this or says this or acts this way? I think it's a really good learning tool as well, and kind of staying out of it a little bit more as an adult or as a parent, I think is important.
Because it usually works itself out, like you said.
I think it does.
And they do learn what they like and they don't like, or what feels best and what doesn't feel like. Dating is good as teenagers. It's what they, it's good that they do that. And you know, my parents, we all have said the same thing. Our parents were so hands off. My husband remembers coming to my front door and my dad seeing him standing at the porch, and this is the first time he'd met my dad, and my dad just stared at him through the glass door and said, yelled for me and said, Patty, you got a friend here. And like, like that was it. And like my husband was like, oh my gosh, he doesn't like him. But it wasn't that he didn't like him, it was just that I'm gonna let her figure this out. And when she says that it's serious, then I will invest time in this relationship. But until then, you're on my front porch.
You're on my front porch.
And that's true to some extent, trusting your son or daughter,
that's huge.
that the values that you've taught them, hopefully they keep to heart, make those right decisions, and come to you when they feel they need your advice.
Yeah, that's true.
And if not, ultimately, it's their choice.
It is.
So at the end of the day, if mistakes need to be made, then they need to be made. And if lessons need to be learned, then they need to be learned. And they are the ones that are probably going to outlive the relationship they have. You know, those are the two that are together, spending all their time. So that's tricky. I'll just learn from all of you and come to you with questions when the time arises.
That sounds great. Helping our kids form healthy, respectful relationships with appropriate boundaries seems to be one of the keys to this topic. We wish that for your kids as well. We'll be right back with more of the Naperville Moms Network. Stay tuned.